Okay, so this has nothing to do with comics at all. I just want to preface that. I know we also haven't done one of these little, like, pre-theme song bits in a while, but I want to talk about this. This is one of the weirdest experiences I've had recently. And I just need to like ask America, like, what the fuck? Why does this exist? So I recently went to Buc-ee's for the first time. Yeah, which I was like, okay, I was in the area. I was in an area where there was a Buc-ee's, and I was like, okay, I guess, like, it's on the way. I may as well, like, go and see what this Buc-ee's thing is all about, right? Because I always hear about, like, Buc-ee's is, like, this magical place. It's, like, the theme park of gas stations. And it is the theme park of gas stations, I guess. Here's what I have to ask. Whose idea was it to make a gas station a tourist attraction? Like, it's so weird. So first of all, there's a shit ton of gas pumps out there. I was like, I knew there'd be a lot, but this was like a shocking amount of gas pumps. So I had trouble finding parking initially because for some reason there were so many fucking people at Buc-ee's. To be fair, I went on like a Sunday afternoon, so I guess that's probably like peak Buc-ee's time. But even still, there was a lot. But thankfully, I don't know about thankfully. There's another parking lot on the other side of the building, so I was able to find parking there. But you walk in, and I think my entire experience at Buc-ee's can be summed up by one woman I passed right as I walked in, who I overheard her say, "I am overstimulated right now." And I was like, "Yep, that about sums up how I'm feeling." It's insane. There's like a weird like hunting section in this gas station. It's pretty immediately, like, upon walking in, I was like, okay, because I ended up spending more money there than I probably would have liked to. Which, by the way, if that's their plan, kind of genius. Because my thought process was, I don't like this place, so I may as well just like sample a bunch of stuff while I'm here. And if that is their marketing strategy, I guess it worked. So fair play, I guess. I have to kind of respect, to a certain degree, like, whoever managed to make this gas station like an actual tourist trap. I don't know how the fuck you would do that, but they have evidently managed to do it. But it's weird. There's too many fucking people there. There's a weird, like, there's a group of people making food in Buc-ee's, and it's like a weird like cult thing where one of them would go like, "Brisket on the board," and then everybody else will have to like shout back at them and repeat it. Like, what the fuck is this? It's such a weird. So yeah, apologies to the person who shut me out at the cash register. She seemed really nice, but I was just like, this is overwhelming. This is my first time here. I don't know what the fuck is going on. This is a wild experience. She's like, yeah, I hope it was okay. And I was like, oh, it was great. I didn't want to make her feel bad. I was like, it's not the staff's fault, but this is a weird place and I don't like it here. So yeah, to anybody who is going by Buc-ee's anytime soon for whatever reason, I would not recommend stopping there. It's weird, and I think it's overrated. And it is also like, it is like the most American thing I've ever seen. Like, I cannot think of a more American thing than a gas station tourism center. But yeah, I went to Buc-ee's and I didn't like it. So that's my PSA for this episode. Don't go to Buc-ee's. It's weird. I don't like it.
I've never been to a Buc-ee's.
I mean, you know what? Maybe if you go on like a weekday when there's less people there, it'd be fine. But it was so bizarre. It was such a weird experience. Also, this Buc-ee's in the middle of fucking nowhere, by the way. Like, there's nothing around. I'm like, why is this here? Who chose this as the position to put a Buc-ee's? So I don't know. Regardless, I just like it's kind of a big cultural thing in southern U.S. I don't understand why, but you know what? Fair enough, I guess. If you like Buc-ee's, that's fine. But I think it's weird and I didn't like it. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Earth's Mightiest Comics. This is the show where every episode we talk about some new comics from the past week and a half or so, or 2 weeks, depending on when we put up the episode. And we let you know whether or not we enjoyed them. We give you a breakdown of the plot that is usually way too detailed, and then we just tell you if we think they were good or not very good. This week is no exception. We are on episode 48, and some of the stuff that we are going to be covering this episode includes the finale of the Cobra Commander miniseries over at Image, as well as a Void Rivals issue as a double Energon Universe week this week. Also, new issues of Something is Killing the Children, Superman, Immortal Thor. There's also the next main issue in the like core Blood Hunt series. But we're going to start off with a series that feels like it's been running forever, even though it's only been 7 issues. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. This is number 7. It is the final kind of brawl showdown fight between the Justice League and the Monsterverse. So it's written by Brian Buccellato. The artist is Christian Deuce. Also, Tom Derenick is credited as an artist as well. We didn't talk about the last issue of this series. It was a week that we were not able to find a time for us to both be able to record, so we ended up not recording that week. Here's the thing. I think this issue wraps up the series about as good as it can do. However, I do think structurally there were some issues that kind of became more clear throughout this entire series. And to a degree, I think they were kind of unavoidable because this is a lot of stuff to kind of cram in to one series. But I mean, essentially, like the breakdown of this is going to be a little bit tricky because I think it is mostly just a big fight between the Justice League, the Monsterverse, with some of the monsters like Godzilla and Kong being on the side of the Justice League kind of by the end, versus also the Legion of Doom, who are maybe there. I couldn't tell. They keep kind of referencing them, but I'm assuming they're just like on the ground and we don't really see them because they're not part of the monster action. And then also Lex Luthor in Mechagodzilla. So, I mean, some of the stuff that happens outside of that, Clark gets revived. I guess sometime during last issue, it's or in between issues, it seems like Bruce and Cyborg just like teleported him into the sun so he could just like get his, energy back. So he's back. He also breaks out Godzilla from where he was being held in the Atlantis region, and leads him into the fight. And then, big fight, ultimately resulting in the Monsterverse getting sent home via the Dreamstone, and then the Legion of Doom being kind of defeated. So, standout moments, I think that are good. Khan with the power ring is cool. However, it feels almost like a throwaway within the issue itself. They don't do very much with that at all.
No.
Which is, I kind of found to be really disappointing. I think if I were to structure this differently, I think I would have put at the end of last issue, Guy Gardner dies, and then we see the ring fly off him at the end of that issue. They're like all, the Justice League is on the back foot, and then we see the ring fly off Guy at the end of that last issue, and then the last page, like, cliffhanger of that issue is Khan with the power ring in his Green Lantern form, and then he can just have that throughout this entire issue and get some kind of more standout moments. Because as it is, he just kind of summons his axe from Godzilla vs. Kong, and then like kills a Skullcrawler with it, and that's kind of it. Other stuff I do like though, Bruce and his big Batman robot ends up nightfalling Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, he does the Bane back break over his knee. That was kind of good. I don't know. I guess like the combo between Superman and Godzilla and Kong at the end taking down that Skullcrawler was kind of cool. But I think it's tricky because it's stuffed, right? You want to have a lot of the DC Universe characters there, but you can't have, because there are so many of them, you can't really have them do much. And also, like, there are ones there who probably are not helping that much. And again, like, to be fair, knowing at the end of the issue that the Legion of Doom was probably there, and the League of Assassins was probably there, or Shadows or whatever, they were probably there on the ground, made some of that make a little bit more sense. Because right at the start, there's a double page spread, and like Green Arrow is there just shooting arrows. I'm like, what the fuck is he gonna do against these guys? So, because I think it's tricky. I think the series tried its best to balance this stuff, particularly with Clark being out of commission for most of the series. It did give other characters kind of some more time to fill the gap and shine a little bit. That being said, I think also like Godzilla gets weirdly sidelined for like the last half of this series. He's not really a big player, and Kong has kind of barely been a player in the series at all. Like, he really has not done a whole lot.
I mean, he got like, I don't know, he had like that one issue where it was like mostly him on what was it, Skull Island, I think is what it was.
That's a bit deceptive though, because it definitely was more substantial. But I went through and I kind of looked at the page count. He's still only in like a third of that issue, I think. He has a more significant role there than he does in a lot of the other part of the series. But he doesn't. And then he gets like mind controlled by Grodd partway through the series. And it's like, so I don't know. I think if you just kind of turn your brain off, which is what this series is kind of for. This is not a series that's trying to provoke a lot of thought and these deep musings on stuff and philosophy and all that. This is not that series, obviously, but I think if you are able to kind of suspend your disbelief more and just kind of accept it for what it is, I think it's a fun enough, big just fight between all these characters. I wasn't, to be honest, I went into this issue thinking I was going to kind of tear into it a lot more. Because I do think the series has some structural issues. I actually think this issue on its own was fun enough and fine. There's some fun moments, but there's also some moments that do just kind of fall flat when I feel like they should have been more significant. Again, particularly Khan with the power ring is like, why waste that on such a small kind of section of the issue. But again, the fight itself is fine. I think this is a decent enough conclusion for what it was. However, the one thing I kind of hate is that we find out that Toyman died way earlier in the series.
Yeah.
He just got stepped on by Godzilla like right at the start, which is fine. I don't mind that. But then the whole thing is like they've been searching for the Dreamstone so they can send all the Monsterverse monsters back, and it's just been stuck in the foot of Godzilla the whole fucking time. That felt kind of cheap to me. So
it just felt like the easy way out. Like
right.
Oh, he just stepped on Toyman. Toyman had the Dreamstone. Godzilla had it because he stepped on him. Like, and I get it. It's the last issue. They had to resolve it somehow. But it just, it felt like the cheap, easy way out to the point where, like, even Superman was like, yeah, he's had it the entire time. Like, it's no big deal. And like that's been the entire mission of like, the Legion of Doom. Besides Lex, really, because Lex kind of went off and like did his own thing.
Yeah, he's just like, all of them will bow down to me, and I will control all of the monsters.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I mean, it's like you said, this one as a whole, I thought it had some good fun moments in it. The Justice League themselves, like it was like Batman and his like robot. It was Flash, Batman, and Cyborg in that the big robot suit versus Lex in Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
And then it was like Kong versus the big Skullcrawler.
Yeah.
And then it was like a bunch of other Justice League heroes versus Behemoth, which is like the big tusk monster.
Yeah, and the other, I don't remember what their names are, but there's a couple other of the side monsters that are also there. Like one of the big, like Skila, I think is his name.
Skila? Is that? Yeah. I didn't even realize that one was still alive.
Yeah, I think there's like 3 of them there or something. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but and then Guy Gardner. I don't even remember what. Did they show that he died in the last issue?
Yeah, it was in the last issue. I read the last issue like right before reading this one, so show it. I don't remember exactly how. I think he just got like because they did the big like Robo Green Lantern, and then his part of it got ripped off, and then he was like, "Nah, I got this. I'm gonna get it myself," and then he just got like stomped on by the Skullcrawler or whatever. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't remember that at all. I do remember like the big lantern robot thing, but I don't remember Guy dying or anything. Yeah, like you said, the Kong with the Green Lantern ring. I feel like they could have done something cooler with that. I don't know, better. For him to just like basically summon his axe and just use that. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's Kong. He doesn't have that higher brain power or something. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It was pretty alright, pretty good. Series as a whole, I think my favorite one is still the first one. Honestly, maybe.
Mine is the third, I think.
Really have to like go back and remember.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it did drag in the middle quite a bit though, and then it kind of just threw everything in at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Like 4 and 5 I remember like kind of really draggy.
Yeah.
And then 6 and 7 were just like everything all at once.
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, this issue I will give. It's gonna get a 7 from me.
I'm gonna give it an 8 just because I thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah,
and it's not like that is by far like that's definitely inflated. Like it is not. If I were to look at this in a more objective fashion, it would probably be like a 6. But I'm gonna give it an 8 just for the fun kind of. Again, like I think the gimmick started to wear out a little bit in the middle, but I think it did just enough by the end to kind of make the gimmick fun again, if still a missed opportunity. So I will give it an 8.
Yeah.
It's definitely not that good, but that's where I'll just throw it for just the hell of it.
All right. Let's talk about Wonder Woman.
Okay, this is Wonder Woman number 9, written by Tom King. The artist is Daniel Semper. So this is the issue that made me realize that this series is kind of structured in a very particular way, and that most of the issues of the series are kind of focused on one singular kind of moment or event, but they use kind of an interesting narrative device to stretch that out over the issue and kind of fill up the issue and make it kind of interesting and feel kind of fresh and unique and kind of interesting. And this one is because last issue we had Diana in the fake like vision hallucination thing the Sovereign made for her. This issue kind of flips that. She's just in the real world, but she is herself creating kind of an illusion for herself to last out just that period where she's just stuck in this like dungeon where she's like eating a rat or something, and then another rat comes, which was the first rat's like wife, and then she was like talking to the rat and the rat was talking back to her. I don't know if she was just like going crazy and imagining all of that or if that really happened. I don't know if Wonder Woman has an established power that she can talk to rats. But yeah, regardless. So in this one, it's each page is set in a different location within Diana's mind. And she's having these conversations with Steve Trevor, and each one is presumably separate, right? Because it seems like these are kind of each instance of her switching locations is like another day, or like a week after the last one, or however long.
It's certainly it's like a time skip type bit, yeah.
Right, but it is also structured in a way that it could even just be one long conversation, and it still flows kind of in a way that manages to work on both fronts, both a long conversation and also a series of short ones. And that's kind of what this issue is. It's just Diana talking to Steve to kind of ground herself, this imaginary version of Steve that she has conjured up, to kind of ground herself and keep her, holding out and not giving into the Sovereign. Throughout this version of Steve keeps saying, like, well, why am I even here? Like, I don't know, he's kind of having an existential crisis despite the fact that he's not real. And then, yeah, at the end, the Sovereign kind of goes to visit Diana, and she's like, all right, what's next? I will say, I think the one thing that is a little bit odd about this issue is that I don't know how we got here, because at the end of the last issue, she was about to kick the shit out of the Sovereign, and now she's just kind of back to being captive.
Yeah.
That is because oftentimes with some of these time steps, I can kind of hand wave some of that away, but that is a situation of like, how the hell did that happen? Because Sovereign was not in the position to like recapture Wonder Woman right there, so I don't know how that kind of went down. Regardless, though, I think this issue is very solid. Again, like I have kind of been back and forth on the series. I think I've been probably a bit more mixed on it than Sebastian has. I have thought oftentimes this series is very solid, but sometimes it's not. And this one is, as always, Tom King is uses dialogue a lot. There's a lot of dialogue in most of all of his comics, and this is no exception. However, I think the nature of the dialogue in this kind of flows better because it is a conversation between Steve and Diana, as opposed to just the Sovereign narrating endlessly for 20 pages. So I think that worked fine. Again, it's kind of this, bottle episode format. I think this still works in that context. Obviously it doesn't do a whole lot to kind of push the plot forward, but I think in this instance it kind of works as it is. And so yeah, I think this is a pretty solid little issue to kind of. I guess next issue is probably going to be the end of this arc, since after that is some absolute power tie-ins. Which feels, I don't know, it's a little bit strange. I don't think this can really be wrapped up in one issue, but I guess we'll see next time. But yeah, so for now, I think this was a solid little middle chapter of this arc.
Yeah, this one was certainly different. Like you said though, I don't know what happened in between where Sovereign somehow got the better of Wonder Woman to like put her in this dungeon. Like maybe she has like some sort of plan that they're just like not letting us in on, the readers like themselves. I don't know.
I mean, maybe it did not seem like it though.
No, it definitely didn't, because she was like bloodied up.
Yeah.
Like more than last issue.
Yeah, she almost gave up in this issue at one point.
Yeah. Also, yeah, because she like at some point she was just like, I can't take it anymore. And Steve Trevor was like, you know what, you're Wonder Woman, like you don't. Or like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he's basically like, yeah, you don't give up though. And the thing with the rat, okay, so the thing with the rats, I really don't know if she actually ate the rats.
I think she did.
I
think she ate one of them.
I think she ate. It's so hard, right, to tell, right? Because like, especially with not knowing how long in between each conversation like took, because like maybe she did eat the first one, but then I remember she also said, I swear she said that she ate the second one, but then when the Sovereign opened the door, you just saw the rat there.
So she never said she ate the second one. She said the second one was talking to her about like, you're in a shit place because you're being comforted by a rat right now. And that's the last we heard of that second rat.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of these conversations blurred for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of dialogue on this one.
Yeah.
It was a lot of dialogue. A lot of it was not philosophical in a way, but like, I don't know what the word would be, honestly, but
yeah.
It was a very heavy reading issue, this one. And, because it was just a lot of back and forth between Diana and Steve. And
and a lot of it kind of went in circles sometimes as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like really only towards the end that you were like, okay, we're going back to the Sovereign again. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where it like started picking up, where Diana was being like, okay, yeah, like I'm starting to come back to the real world, like, not talking to Steve anymore. But I don't know. This one, it didn't do it for me that much. Like I can definitely see it being like an interesting idea in a way. For me though, I didn't enjoy reading it too much. I enjoyed the idea behind it. and like what exactly they were trying to convey, but to read it for me, man, it was a lot. So yeah, it's all right for me in my book.
Yeah.
I gave it a 7 as well.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I do think it worked well enough for me. I do think even though the dialogue did kind of go in circles, I think it was still well written enough that it didn't really bother me that much. The art also looks fantastic as always with this artist, and I did like just seeing all the cool different locations that they jump to. So ultimately, I thought it was pretty good. But yeah, it's it is definitely a dense read. I understand why that would not necessarily, and because of the nature of some of the dialogue, I understand why it would not necessarily be for everybody. Okay, let's do Titans here. Yeah, this is Titans number 11, written by Tom Taylor, and the artist is Lucas Meyer. Or Meyer, I don't know. So, okay, this issue concerns the Franken Titan, as it says on the cover. So, essentially, the premise here is that it kind of takes a bit of a break from the whole Dark Raven thing that's been going on for the past couple issues, which I actually think kind of worked well. It provided a good, decent, pacing mechanism to, kind of explore some other stuff and then still have that stuff with Raven building in the background while not kind of feeling tired because of it. But so essentially, it deals with this one person, Vanessa, otherwise known as Vanadia, is what she wants her superhero name to be.
Yes.
And so she's the Titans' biggest fan. She loves the Titans. She wants to be a Titan. She keeps training to try and be good enough to be on the Titans. And then ultimately, this one dude, Dr. Morrow is his name, is hey, you want to, we can, give you some, essentially, super soldier serum-esque kind of thing to, so you can, become a Titan. And so she does that for a little bit. She's making good progress, but then she has, a heart attack and dies because her body cannot handle all of the stuff that they're kind of pumping her with. And then so Dr. Morrow's okay, leave the body, take the brain, and they transfer the brain into what is maybe an Amazo robot kind of thing. It has all the powers of the Titans. It's like an Amazo Titan. And Waller shows up and is essentially hey, let's have her take down the actual Titans. So Dr. Morrow sends her in after the Titans, telling her that they are imposters who are they've taken over the Titans' lives. And then this is the only way she can save the real Titans. So there's a big fight there. The other part of the issue does kind of start to deal with a little bit of the Rachel stuff as well. Last issue, we did say it seemed like Dick probably knows that Rachel is not Rachel anymore and is Dark Raven. So we see him. He has set up kind of a Zur-En-Aw for himself, but unlike Bruce's Zur-En-Aw, which will take over his life, this one essentially will just it's like a mind palace for him to note stuff down in a place where Raven is not able to actually read those thoughts. It's a very isolated system that he's created for himself, and he's even to the point where Dick is not aware of it himself. He goes there, gives the information to Zur-En-Aw Dick, and then he wakes up with no memory of having done it. He just has to set an alarm to send him back there so that he can, again, reactivate the Zur-En-Aw program whenever Raven is asleep. Because she only sleeps for 20 minutes a night, and they're all in 7-minute increments. So he's on a very kind of limited schedule to do this before she wakes up and, figures out that he's, on the path to taking her down. What is weird, I think the ending's strange, because they're in the middle of the fight, and then Rachel just teleports into hell, and she's I can't let them hurt the Titans, and that's kind of where it ends.
Well,
so that was a little bit strange.
No, but she teleported for a reason, though.
I know, but I forget what it was, and I also remember thinking that the reason was kind of dumb when I read it. So
all right, so when Vanadia went and attacked Titan's tower, right? And Titans they were fighting, whatever, and Vanadia stabs Raven through the stomach area.
Yeah.
And so Beast Boy goes to help her up and stuff, and so she basically tells him to I think she literally tells him to fuck off.
Pretty much, yeah.
And opens a portal, and she basically went to the axe so it could heal her.
Oh,
essentially.
Okay. I don't know.
And
it still felt like a weird place to end it for me, though.
No, it definitely felt weirdly.
Yeah.
It definitely felt a very abrupt ending. I'm not gonna lie. Because it ends with her basically being Dark Raven, and she essentially is. I feel like she's just gonna reveal her. That's she's gonna take on Vanadia by revealing herself as Dark Raven too, and then in doing so, I don't know, Titans come to her side. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I really don't know. Besides that, what else? This one was
not
very.
Much.
Yeah, honestly, no. The whole Dick Zur-En-Aw thing, I mean, smart the way he did it so that he like
Yeah.
can't take over his mind or whatever. The whole like Raven sleep thing, I didn't quite understand.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's essentially that I guess they've mapped out when she sleeps. It's only for
Yeah.
7 minutes across a couple times throughout the night. And so Ditch sets an alarm for himself to trigger when she goes to sleep so he can go and give more of that information to his Zur.
Yeah. His Zur.
Because I think it's reading her like vital signs. So when she goes into sleep, then it automatically triggers that out.
That part I get, but the fact that like he doesn't remember what he tells to Zur and stuff, or his, and I think he says it's Cirque in awe. This is
he's from the circus.
Yeah, Cirque. I was gonna call him Cirque. When he gives the information to Cirque, right?
Yep.
He then forgets what he told him, or
I think so. I'm not sure though.
Because I think for me, it's more of like he has someone to like bounce ideas off of that he can't go to the Titans yet because obviously like Raven will just read their minds, but like with Zurk, she can't read his mind, right? And so that's what I was thinking. Not that like yes, maybe. He uses it as like a notepad too to like note stuff that I did remember reading, but like it would make no sense for him to like give it all to Zurk and then forget it all, to have to go back there to like remember it for like 7 minutes and then forget it when he leaves. Like that doesn't.
I don't know. I think the reason my mind filled that in is because Raven could just read his mind as well. So if he doesn't remember that, then it's probably safer for him so that he's able to still work this stuff out in the Zur-En-Awe space and not have her discover his efforts.
Exactly. Like, yeah, I get that part too. Like, yeah, like she can read Nightwing's mind just fine, but not Cirque's, whatever. It's just like, oh man, that just doesn't. I don't know how that all will work out in the end when he forgets everything. Maybe like one time Cirque will tell him to wake up, but like still remember everything. I don't know.
Right.
It just seems like overly complicated at that point. You know.
I will say I did like the art in that section because it was framed within two things of Dick's face, and every time that it was like Dick talking, it would be the panel would be in blue, and every time it was Zur talking, it'd be in red. So it'd be like it's a good way to kind of differentiate and make it easy to tell who was who, which I think was really, really smart there.
Yes. Art style was still good. Yeah. Absolute Power still coming in hard on these ones. Venetia. Okay. So did I read this right? Is the Dr. Morrow the person that made Red Tornado?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that because I knew there was something else about him that I was forgetting, and I knew it was significant, and I forgot completely what it was. So yeah, but that is correct.
Okay, so I did read that. Okay, I didn't know if he was bashing the person that did make Red Tornado or if it was him.
No, I think it was him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, he made Red Tornado. He has now made Venetia to be better than Red Tornado because she can she's not just an AI. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. We'll see how this one ends. Do you think? Okay, so not knowing what comes next, I don't know when Absolute Power starts for Titans. Is that the next issue? I have no idea.
No, it should be. It presumably will be issue 13. However, I did just look through the synopses of the next couple issues, and I didn't see mention of Absolute Power, so I actually don't know if Titans is going to be as plugged into that as a lot of the other series will be.
Gotcha. Well,
because the one that I'm sure would be during, I know Absolute Power is going on during 13, and it looks like it's the Titans versus Trigon, so... or the Titans versus the kids of Trigon. So I don't think it's going to be super Absolute Power heavy there. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because even 14, it's like them versus Trigon.
Right. And they're teaming up with Swamp Thing. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I don't know. Venetia is cool, I guess. It's just another Meso robot. Well, just the new Justice League, because Titans have taken over Justice League. So it's, yeah, I don't know. So original idea right there. But yeah, I don't know. It was alright. It was pretty good. It was I don't know. I like the Dick Zur thing, even though I didn't really understand it.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I'll give it an 8.
I'm giving this one a 7. I think. Well, I like the concept behind Venetia, and I think her origin was interesting. The actual fight between her and the Titans felt really weird to me, and the way it ended was super abrupt. I felt to me like the cliffhanger should have been about something that happened in that fight, and not Raven just going to hell and having a weird existential crisis. I did like Zur-En-Awe stuff. I think that was really interesting, but I think the conflict between the Titans and Venetia was kind of weird to me. So I'm gonna give this one a 7 because of that.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Oh, let's get this one out the way. Green Lantern War Journal.
Okay, based on that reaction, I'm gonna guess that you didn't like this one very much.
Oh man. I'm kind of just over this series already, honestly.
I mean, there are only 3 more issues, yeah.
Wait, there's still 3?
Yeah, it's gonna be 12 total, yeah.
Oh man, I thought we were almost done. I'm gonna be honest.
That is almost done.
No, I know, but I thought on number 8, I thought there was only 2 left. Oh no.
No, not quite. Yeah.
Oh dude, I would have dropped this. Oh. I'm so over this one already. I feel like it's just the same thing every single time.
Yeah, I'm not disliking this series. I want to make that clear. I think this is okay, or even solid. But I do think I actually do kind of agree about it kind of feeling like it's going in circles a little bit. So this is number 9 of the series, Green Lantern War Journal number 9, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, and the artist is Montos. So I think what is great about the series still is I think the art is very good. There's a cool little history of the Revenant Queen and the Dark Stars and everything. All of that stuff looks great. It feels like this kind of fantasy, textbook kind of thing, giving all the illustrations look kind of medieval, and they're kind of which I think adds to the whole kind of historical feeling to the section there. Outside of that, though, it's really kind of hard for me to remember what happens. And even with the history, because I know it was something about there was a group of people, they went to this planet. Yep. And the Dark Stars were kind of there as this powerful, this power source, and it was the planet had kind of formed this religion around it, so that they didn't want to use too much of it because they felt it would be blasphemous. And the people who went to explore, who I just were the kind of prototypes for and the progenitors for the Green Lantern Corps, went there and they were we're just gonna take this and you can't do anything about it. And so they became these big, powerful warriors because of this. Except then it corrupted one of them, and she became the Revenant Queen ultimately. I think that's kind of what was implied there. So that was kind of and I could have, by the way, gotten half of that wrong. That's what I kind of more or less remember, but I don't know all the details, so I could have misremembered some of that.
Yeah,
but regardless,
it was more than me. I remember there was a kind of a flashback on that one, but I don't remember anything else besides that.
Yeah, right. That's the stuff that Cowlin Shepherd is reading from the Book of Oa. And then so we also have John just kind of fucking around on that planet. I don't think anything really consequential happens there, to be honest. I don't remember anything major going on.
No, I don't think anything too major happens. I will say there was one scene that I liked, which was one of the resident people there, ones that are fleeing the Dark Star thing.
Yeah.
They were crossing this bridge, and it was the last 2 or something like that, and one of them gets infected, and
right.
John went back to basically go help him across, but the other resident was no, it's too late for him. There's literally nothing we can do. Either we leave him here, either we take him with us and he reveals to the rest of them where we are and we all die, or we have to leave him behind. And so against his better judgment, he had to leave him behind and stuff.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's still just the same thing. They're just continuously going down away from the Dark Star while John still asks questions about stuff that everybody else is either kind of just being I don't know, or just being it's you gotta ask the other cowboy guy that knows everything or whatever, and he's just nowhere to be found.
Yeah. So there's that stuff, and then there's also stuff on Earth where John's mom is there, and she goes to take a nap, and then the construct Ellie has a run-in with whoever the fuck that guy is. I think he's supposed to be the kind of manifestation of the Revenant Queen or something, but made personal for John's mom. Yeah, because it says the Revenant Queen is listed here as a cameo vision, so I'm assuming that's who that is.
Or it could be the flashback.
Maybe. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. Regardless, that's the other part of this. So again, I don't dislike this series still. I think it's still perfectly fine. And the next issue actually sounds really dope. It's it's Cowlin Shepherd and Guy Gardner on a suicide mission to try and rescue Jon Stewart, which that sounds kind of cool to me. But I do think this issue for me was maybe the weakest of the bunch. Again, not saying it was bad or terrible at all. I think it was, very, very, very solid. But I do think, yeah, it is kind of running around in circles. I think the flashback, like, history stuff was kind of cool and it looked great, but it was a little bit difficult for me to follow. And it just kind of, I don't know, something about it felt like a bit pacing killing. I also understand why we needed it, though, because we don't know very much about the Revenant Queen or the Dark Stars right now. But yeah, I do think this is my least favorite issue of the series. I am still going to give it at least the next issue. I'm actually not 100% confident that I will finish this series, at least not like, as it's coming out. I might wait till it comes to DC Universe Infinite, but I will plan to pick up the next one for now and just kind of go from there and see. But yeah, I don't think this one was necessarily fantastic.
I just think this series has just gotten boring, honestly. It just feels like constantly just being the same thing over and over, like just being regurgitated, especially this like arc where John is trapped on like this other planet or whatever. Because the first part, like I remember the first couple issues, I really enjoyed, but at this point, it just feels like the exact same thing, and we're just regurgitating it somewhere else. So yeah, I don't think this one's bad by any means. Like I don't think it's bad. I just think it's just boring. It's just boring to read and not entertaining at all. So for that reason, that's why I'm not liking it at all. But I gave it a 6.
I think I'm also gonna give it a 6. I did have it at a 7 initially, but just thinking about it, I don't quite know that I want to give it a 7 because I do think this was weaker than the rest of the series so far. So okay, let's do Rook Exodus here. This is Rook Exodus number 2. Written by Jeff Johns. The artist is Jason Fabok. So I said last week Redcoat potentially could end up being my favorite of the 3. But I did also say, well, Rook Exodus is next week. Gonna have to wait and see. That's only had 1 issue so far. See how this one goes, and maybe that'll change my mind. So yeah, having read this is just very clearly the best of the Ghost Machine books right now. This was very good. To the point it was almost my pick of the week, actually, which is surprising. Because again, I've mentioned quite a bit that I'm not the biggest Jeff Johns fan. Now I'm just starting to think that maybe I just haven't read the stuff that people kind of most like his work for. So this one deals with the aftermath of Swine having died in the last issue from Ursa, who's the one who controls all the bears. In this, Rook manages to find the last piece that he needs to complete the rocket. He has a big fight with a giant snapping turtle in the process of trying to get it, which, by the way, this series looks incredible. Like, the art is great, and I think the rendition of this world that is being drawn and like the way it's being physically shown is fantastic. It just looks so cool, and it's got a very unique vision to it that makes it distinct while also just being like very well realized. So after that, he meets Direwolf here, who she's the one who controls all the wolves. Her and Rook have a bit of a past. They were coworkers. Direwolf was the one who trained Rook. So they're kind of talking. Direwolf is essentially saying like, hey, Swine's dead, first of all, and you should come and help us take down Ursa. There's another, we should try and be like trying to save the planet and fight for the planet as opposed to just trying to leave it. Rook just kind of just like, fuck that. But then Ursa shows up and blows up the rocket. So he's like, well, I guess I'm gonna go and help you out now. And Direwolf does kind of say like, well, there is another way to get off this planet. Like there's more options here. If you help me take down Ursa, I will try and help you to get off the planet. So that is kind of, as far as I remember, the extent of the issue. I think what really works about this is I think just world building, both narratively in terms of, the dialogue and the writing, and also in terms of the actual, art and the physical manifestation of that through the images. It's just top notch. I think the world building is really, really like almost unparalleled right now, pretty much right off the bat. And I think the characters are all pretty decent. I think Direwolf is immediately pretty interesting. I think she's cool. Yeah. Rook, I still have a kind of a hard time getting a read on. He seems like kind of a generic gruff dude for now. I don't see a whole lot of depth in him currently. Of course, that could change, but at the moment, I'm not entirely sure. Ursa, I just don't think we have enough information on, because he's really been a pretty small part in terms of actual physical presence so far. But I think like there's a lot of stuff to like here, and I think actually this is probably, I think I prefer this even to the last issue, which was already I think a very solid start. But this one I think just really built off of the really solid foundation that was already laid down in a way that was interesting, in a way that introduced some new stuff that I think is all very cool, and just in a way that also kept some very cool world building and also just cool action. That fight with the snapping turtle was cool, man. It looked really good. So yeah, I ended up liking this one a lot. I think it was a very solid second issue.
Yeah, no, this one's still really great. It definitely didn't feel as long as the first one. I think technically it wasn't.
Yeah, that's just it's not. It's like half the size of the first one.
Yeah, but and yeah, in terms of character building, I mean, Direwolf definitely seemed like a lot more interesting at like right now. But I mean, that's just because I feel like you said, not Direwolf, Rook is just like your generic, just like gruff like man. I will say like he obviously cares about things, right? Because he was like really monologuing throughout like the beginning of this issue, like what to do with the swine situation essentially. Like he wasn't sure if he was dead, like they had always had plans to like if they were like in trouble to like basically like hide, go underground, like turn off their signal or whatever, and to just like ping it back on when they're like safe and stuff. So that he thought that's what he was waiting for. And so he didn't really know he was dead, but at the same time, he like was hoping he wasn't dead at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And then, he was going to leave. And then that's when Direwolf showed up, told him Swine was dead. And then he tried to convince Direwolf to go. But I guess like she's like super dedicated to the planet.
Yeah.
And her dad, I guess, is also on the planet, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember seeing anything about that.
I think she said that. I don't remember. I don't know why I'm remembering that. But, I guess Ursa, the bear dude, wasn't originally part of like the Exodus group, I think is what. Yeah, he
killed the other bear guy and then just stole his mask, I think.
Yeah, because I guess Ursa's like some like genetically enhanced guy.
Yeah,
I think is what Direwolf was saying.
Something, yeah.
And he wants their helmets for something else.
Yeah,
is I think I remember. Yeah, that's what was right. Yeah.
Something, yeah,
something like that. Yeah, art's still great. I think that the world itself is really interesting, and I'm glad. Like, I know we're gonna get more of it, but like, I hope we see more of like the environment and like more Rooks and like how specifically how they interact with their animals, because we got a bit of that in this one with Rook and his crows. Basically being like, I can feel what they feel, and sometimes it distracts me, but he has to like let it not. Just let it distract them and stuff like that. So I hope we see more of like that in the future with like some of the other Rooks. I think this is still really solid, really good, and honestly, I'd give this an 8.
I'm gonna give this one a 9. I think this was very good. I think it is a bit unfortunate. Rook has like so far the most useless mask out of all of them. The controlling the crows does not seem as useful as controlling any of the other ones. But I think ultimately, here's the thing. This is the first time I've really run into this, but I know I gave both Geiger and Redcoat an 8, and I think this is quite a lot better than both of those. This is maybe like Geiger and Redcoat both much less. Geiger more so than Redcoat. I think Geiger is not as good as Redcoat. But as a result of that, I gave both of those an 8. So I'm like, okay, I should probably just give this a 9. I do genuinely think it was very solid. I think it is probably deserving of a 9. So that's what I'm going to go for.
Yeah, gotcha. I will quickly talk about Superior Spider-Man. Superior Spider-Man number 7. And when I say quickly, I really mean quickly. This one, it is still the exact same. It's the Spider Autos took over basically New York. They met up with the real Otto, Octavius, and basically explained their plan to turn Supernova into still renewable, like unlimited renewable energy or whatever. Peter himself is Spider-Man, basically tries to track down like the mind reader that was in the original Superior Spider-Man series, which is the thing that allowed Doc Ock to like actually take over Peter's mind to begin with. He tries to find that. Otto knew that was going to happen, so he sent, if I remember correctly, J. Jonah Jameson, Aunt May, and Mary Jane all basically to like try and stop him. And he was going to leave. One of them, I guess I didn't know this, but I guess J. Jonah Jameson has Doc Ock's like original tentacle arms.
Yeah, that happened in the current ASM run. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't know that, but yeah, he used that to stop Peter. And God, how did this end? Yeah, I don't remember how this ended, but I think that's honestly how it ended. I really don't remember. We have one more issue, and ready for it to be over. Honestly, for me, this one doesn't like the original one, right? It felt like it had a huge significance in the with everything moving forward. Right, because like after the original Superior Spider-Man ended, he still had like his business that Otto like basically made when he was Peter and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, Parker Industries, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But like for this one, I feel like it's, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like that significant into the story in the future or for whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It's I said I don't like this whole spider controlling everybody bit thing going on. I don't know. I don't like that very much. 6.
Okay. Well, let's do Spider-Gwen the Ghost Spider #1. This is Spider-Gwen the Ghost Spider #1. Written by Stephanie Phillips. The artist is Federica Manson. So I will say this one is billed as it's going to be an ongoing. Now, if that is true, I think that's good because this series and this character actually, and is more specifically, never really seems to have any time to breathe. Just gets these like minis after minis after minis, and I don't feel like, as a result, I feel like it's hard to make some like you can't really have like a defining run on this character when they're all just miniseries. However, I would be shocked if this series lasts more than 8 issues. It's just that's not even to speak to the quality or anything. I just do not anticipate this selling well enough that Marvel will keep it going, because Marvel is not very good at that. As far as the issue goes, I think it was broadly okay with 2 very good parts. So this issue starts with kind of the first page of this issue is my favorite part of the issue, where we have Gwen kind of recapping original 616 Gwen's life. I just think the way it's told is very good. It's essentially Gwen saying like, yeah, Gwen Stacy like had all these opportunities. There were so many possibilities for her, and then there weren't. And on that last page, on that last panel where she says, "And then there weren't," it's a completely black panel. There's nothing there except for the snap sound effect from when her bat broke. I think that was great. And really like a great way to set the tone for this. Then we get into kind of just more like standard, spider person stuff. I don't know if this is specific to Spider-Gwen, if this is like really in line with what her kind of deal is. I haven't read much of her stuff, but it is very, very standard for general spider people stuff, where she's at a bank. She's trying to get a new identity under her own name. We learn later that like the TVA, which is why she's here, they gave her an identity, but it wasn't under Gwen's name. And she's kind of trying to hold on to what aspects of her life that she can while she's, literally move the universes. So while she's at the bank, there's a bank robbery. She takes them all out, and then she goes back home to see Obi from the TVA being like, hey, you can't do this. Don't put on the suit or people are going to die because of vague reasons that we cannot tell you because we're still trying to set up a mystery for the characters. So as a result of that, like Miles, Peter, some of the others, they like know that she's in the universe now, which apparently they are not supposed to know that. And then she goes out just kind of hanging out. She sees like a runaway truck. Again, she's like, well, I'm just going to put on the suit and help this truck. And then in so doing, she runs into Craven the Hunter. Everybody keeps saying he's supposed to be dead. I don't know why. I don't know if he's died recently. As far as I'm aware, he hasn't. Like, I'm reading, an arc from ASM from like September of last year, and he's very much alive there. So I don't know why everybody's saying he's supposed to be dead. Regardless, though, he and Gwen have a quick fight. He stabs her and then kicks her off the bridge, essentially.
Yeah.
And again, this back part, I think, was also, I should say, like the last like 2-3 pages of the issue, I think were also very good. The way it parallels that first part, because it's the same dialogue. Gwen is saying the same thing that she was saying when she was recapping 616 Gwen, as she is falling from the bridge. And then the point, like right before she actually gets knocked off the bridge, she's looking at it, and she's like, is this where it happened? Like, oh shit. And she sees like kind of the ghost silhouette of Gwen, like kind of falling off. That stuff is great. Genuinely, I think it's really, really solid writing. I do think the way it ends is a little bit weird. I think that the last page of this issue, I would cut entirely. I would have it end with her hitting the water. And because the last line is like, I should have listened to Obi. You could even keep that in there. But I think the point, because at the very end, we see her being dragged out of the water by somebody. And I think that completely kills any tension. So I would have cut that completely. But I think this issue is framed really well to start in the back. However, the middle is just kind of whatever generic Spider-Person Marvel stuff, right? It didn't wow me. I didn't think it was that fun or funny. I just thought it was kind of bland. And so while I really liked the start and I mostly liked the end, I think that middle section just felt a little bit generic for me, to the point where I didn't really end up loving the issue overall.
Okay. Okay. So I won't talk too much about the beginning because we both really liked the beginning, with the whole like past the main 616 Gwen, like her death being recounted by this Gwen. That was really great. I will say I do wish they told I assume that we might get into it more later. I'm not too sure. I do kind of wish they went into a bit more as to why she's in 616.
Yeah,
like
I think we
now.
will get into that. However, I think that's another problem though, because they build it up as if it's like this big mystery. But I think that's the kind of thing. To the reader, it's not immediately clear if we're supposed to know why she's there or not. So I think they're trying to build a mystery, but I don't think they're doing it very well, because I felt no suspense. I was just like, am I supposed to already know this? Like, it didn't feel like kind of a big driving force for like, oh man, I want to know what happens because of that. Like that, I just didn't really, have any attachment to that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because like I feel like they could have done that a bit better. Like bringing like not just like us, like them throwing us into her being in 616. Like maybe she's in her original universe, and then in this one she makes it to 616, and then she's like stuck there, and then maybe the second one could have literally been what this one was. Because like the last thing we got, if I recall, I'm not sure if we've gotten something else, but the last thing I read from Spider-Gwen was the Spider-Gwen Smash one, this one was supposed to kind of like be a continuation of that one. Like it was supposed to like lead into this one. It kind of really didn't. But yeah, that's kind of my biggest issue with this one, was that like I feel like they could have done that whole transition better into her being like moving universes. I will say the middle part was kind of just like her struggling with, again, just like spider people stuff. Like, do I use my powers to like help people or not? And not even like a spider person. Like I feel like it's like most superheroes, right? It's like the generic their inner fight with themselves. Like when they want to hang up the cape, but they see someone in trouble, can they really do it? And so yeah, that was a lot. I feel not even like a lot of middle part, but it was part of the middle part was Obi basically telling her like, you gotta stop being Spider-Gwen. People will die if you're Spider-Gwen. Again, TVA, they don't tell us anything besides that fact.
Yep.
Always mysterious. And then yeah, the whole fight scene with Kraven and Gwen on the bridge, where again 616 Gwen dies. I mean, I didn't know Kraven was supposed to be dead either. That was like something. But I thought the fight in general was like fine, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't think the fight was that great.
I mean, she got poisoned instantly, and so like her moves were like sluggish and whatever. And I don't know if she's ever fought this Kraven before.
It didn't seem like she had, based on what she was saying.
Yeah. And then she got stabbed, fell off the bridge. There was kind of a middle part. I don't remember who the two talking were. Oh, it was Brock Tarantula.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There was that whole boxing scene.
I completely forgot about that.
I just remembered that. I guess that's gonna be like kind of a main villain for her going forward, possibly. I guess. I have no idea anything about that man. But yeah, I don't know. I really like this one for actually a Spider-Gwen one. I thought this was like actually really good, considering I haven't read that many Spider-Gwen ones, but the ones I have read, like, they're really not that good. Which kind of sucks, because I really
and yet you keep pulling them.
I really like her character, man.
Sure.
God.
Sure.
I just feel like they don't do, and it's probably like what you said, where it's the fact that like she doesn't have an ongoing, so she can't really like flow. And
I also don't think they ever give her like a really good writer. Like that's because I think I would say, based on my experience with this show, I would say you more follow characters, whereas I more follow like writers and teams. And that's why I just often don't bother picking up a Spider-Gwen thing, because I just don't think that the writers are usually like really great.
No, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I do. Because I know maybe like 4 authors. Like I know James Tynion, the dude that's writing Batman.
Okay, I mean, you don't know him that well if you don't know his name.
I'm blanking on his name. I know his name. Chip Zdarsky. There it is. Honestly, maybe it's just those two.
Wow, no Al Ewing in there. No
Al Ewing. Al Ewing. That's another one. Oh my god, I know more. I just don't remember their names.
Yeah.
I know Peach Momoko.
That's true. Okay, fair enough.
God, there was fucking the art. I know the artist for Batman and Robin, Steve D'Amico.
Nope, not Steve.
Not Steve.
Simone DeMeo.
Simone DeMeo. There it is. Side tangent. Did you know he's in Fortnite?
Simone DeMeo is in Fortnite?
Yeah, he did it. He did art for him.
Really? That's interesting. So, like, you can play as Simone DeMeo in.
No, you
can't.
Okay, I was like, what? He did art, like a wallpaper for him, and you can get it in the current battle pass. Yeah.
When you said he's in Fortnite, I just imagined he would be just as a playable character now. I'm like, that's a weird decision.
No. That was a tangent, but I just remember that, and I wanted to tell you about it. But yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed this one for what it was. Actually, I thought the story was very good, even though like it did kind of like that whole Black Tarantula middle bit was kind of like, that's the part that I would say I disliked the most. But for the most part, when Gwen was like on page, I actually really enjoyed her. I think they were doing a really good job with her in this. But yeah, so far I've actually really enjoyed this one. I thought this one was really good. I gave it an 8.
I gave it a 6. I just thought it was generic and not all that amazing. So
let's go Immortal Thor. Yeah.
I fucking knew it. I knew you were gonna go Immortal Thor. I'm getting really good at guessing which ones you're gonna pick next.
I was. Can you decide? Can you guess which was the two I was deciding between?
It was that or Ultimate Black Panther.
Nope, you were wrong. It was Cobra Commander.
Really?
Yep.
Really? Okay. I thought we might want to chunk. I thought you were gonna chunk the Energon Universe stuff together.
No, see, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Okay. Anyway, this is Immortal Thor number 11, written by Al Ewing. The artist is Valentina Pinti. So straight up, I really was expecting to give this one an 8 out of 10. I really was, based on the description, based on how it seemed to me from the synopsis that this was going to be like a side story, not really tied into anything going on in the main part of the series. However, that's not the case. This is very much looped into the Utgard stuff, it seems, while also still kind of going and examining some stuff from the Gods series as well. So right off the bat, this is my pick of the week. I wasn't expecting this to be this week, but again, like since like issue number 6, this has basically just been like anytime this series is out, I end up giving a pick of the week pretty much. So I would say about half of this issue is taken up by a meeting between the children of Odin, right? Thor calls this the meeting of all the children of Odin. So it's Thor, it's Angela, it's Balder the Brave, it's Hermod, who I don't know who that is, Honir, who I also don't know, Honir Vidar, I also don't know who they are. There's Loki, and then there's Lausa. And then later on, we also have 2 other characters pop up. Bragi and, what's his name? It's like Buller or something. Bullr. I'm pretty positive.
All right. I'll believe it.
Yeah. So I think this conversation is really interesting. I think it's the way they're bouncing off each other, I think is really cool. There's a really fun part where Bragi shows up. He's like the god of poetry, essentially.
Yes.
And he and Loki kind of have a dueling... They start like dueling with their caption boxes. Like the caption boxes start like arguing with each other because they're trying to like each take control of the story because they're the 2 storytellers. I think that's like really fun and a really, clever novel idea. I will say if there's one small criticism that I would level at this issue, it's not something that really bothered me, but I did think it was weird. We kept talking basically since the last issue of this series. We have been saying, how the fuck are they going to get from where Thor ended up at the end of that issue to here? And the answer is they just kind of ignore it. Like, this issue just starts with Thor off planet, and he's talking to Sam, and Sam's like, yeah, like, things are okay for now. We know you didn't kill the Minotaur or the Keep, but probably just stay off Earth if you're not with us for the time being, just to be safe. And he also he mentions that, like, his thoughts are less clouded when he's with the Avengers since they, like, know him, the most out of any mortals. And also, if he's like not on Earth, then he also does not have that issue with his thoughts being clouded. So I do think like I part of me would have liked to see that actually like directly get continued, but at the same time, I also kind of get why it wouldn't be, because you could also just have it be just like Thor's like, oh shit, this is a problem. I gotta get off planet. He just flies away, and we just get to this point anyway. So I don't really, I get why they would maybe kind of skip over that. After all of the members are there, Thor's like, okay, you guys are all here, even Buller, who has been like exiled and hates all of us. So where's Tyr? And so they're freaked out by that because Tyr has had some, he's the god of war, and he's had a lot of like, warmongering tendencies and everything. And he's, often lined up with people who Thor is in direct conflict with. And so they're essentially like, if he's not here, that's a problem. That's why we're here. We need to find Tyr. So they go into, I guess they must go into the Skinner box. I don't really know how they get there, but they go into like the weird, like dimensional, like shifting geometry kind of thing from the very end of Gods #4, which never really got kind of like resolved. It just kind of Doctor Strange and Wynn just went in there and then it was like, that's the end of the issue. So it turns out that, first of all, Loki had fed Tyr to somebody else. I don't remember who he says it was, but he fed him to, I think it was the In-Betweener. And everybody's like, excuse me, what the fuck did you do? But so anyway, that didn't work. Tyr came back, and so they put him in one of the boxes from Gods and just held him there. The problem was, since that is like In-Betweener magic, it is like feeding more dark information to Tyr. and like corrupting him and making him worse, and he's already not great, so like that's a problem. So they kind of split up to try and go find him. Half the group does find him. I forget what the split up is, but Thor is not part of the group that ends up finding.
I know, if I remember correctly, it was Loki, Thor, Angela, and I want to say Balder.
That could be.
I think it was because the poetry god, the evil one that hates everybody.
Yeah.
Uller. I know Lausa.
So Hermod would probably have been there as well, because I think he was the one who was kind of taking care of Lausa.
I think, is it Honir maybe?
Yeah, Honir I think is the guy who has the wolves, so he's able to like sniff them out.
Yeah, I think who's the one that jumped in the Skinner box?
I don't know. It might have been Vidar.
Okay. Yeah. I think it was him because he was the smaller one, and he was like, "Yeah, you're not gonna fit in there. Hold Lausa."
Yeah.
And then he jumped in there and he found Tyr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so Thor and everybody else went off the other way. Presumably, based on the next issue, they're gonna find the Utgard Odin out wherever they end up going to. So yeah, I just think like again, like fucking, I just am blown away because again, I didn't love the first arc of this series. I don't know how many people remember that. I don't know how many people were around for that, but we have covered, as far as I'm aware, we have talked about literally every issue of this series so far. And I didn't love the first arc that much. I thought it was good, but it wasn't like blowing me away. And now it's just been fucking nothing but hits. I have just like, I cannot stop giving this series 10. And it's crazy. Because going into the series, I knew I would probably like it because I love this writer. But I also knew that I probably wouldn't like it as much as Immortal Hulk, which is the same writer. And the run is not finished, so obviously we don't know like how it'll stack up ultimately, but I think as of right now, it's at least as good as that series was, and I might be liking it better at this point. So just really like blowing me away. This is an issue I thought would kind of just be filler and be like a solid enough issue, but not really kind of advance things in a meaningful way. But it ended up completely being the opposite of that. And I think the dialogue between all the children of Odin, I think was sharp and kind of, giving this kind of menacing vibe and this sense of foreboding. I think like, the incorporation of the stuff from Gods felt really natural. It didn't just feel like it was just kind of wrapping up a plot line because they just needed to. And I think the stuff it's setting up for the future is really, really great. So yeah, I loved this. The one complaint I just a little bit is that I think the art is a little bit plasticky. It's not terrible. I think it's better than the art in the last issue. And I think that's actually probably more due to the coloring than even the line words. I think the line words totally fine. But other than that, like, I think this was really just great. So yeah, love it. Continue to love this series. It's like probably my favorite series from Marvel right now, and just like really great across the board.
Okay. Oh, this one was fine. Yeah. They brought in a lot of characters here that like we just really could care less about, honestly, in the end.
Ooh, see, I think this issue did a pretty good job of making me care at least about these characters.
It's just like, man, oh man, they just like, I don't know, man. So many names.
Yeah, there are a lot of names.
So many new characters that it's like we have no idea, man. I don't know. That's not even like my problem with this one. I don't even have like that big of a problem with this one. I just thought it's so different from what we have gotten from this series, right? At the same time, did they explain why he was gathering the Sons of Odin?
It was to find Tyr. He was like, he's been missing. We need to find him, because Tyr being like gone and us not knowing where he is a major problem.
Yeah, I thought they decided to find Tyr because he didn't show up to the meeting.
So no, well, kind of, but it was Thor called them all there and they all showed up and he's like, hey, Tyr's missing. I don't know if you noticed, but that is why we're here. That's a problem, so that we need to go find him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I do remember him saying that Sif couldn't find him either.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't like this one that much. I thought it was like all right. It wasn't like too crazy. I did like the back and forth between Loki and the poetry god.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. How Loki like several times was just like, I don't like you.
It's like, just fucking stop. This is my job now. Let me do this.
Exactly. And what else? Yeah, but really besides that, I didn't like the new characters. Like I didn't really care for them that much, besides like really maybe the two like older ones, like the poetry god and then the other one.
Yeah.
But the other three, I think I really didn't really care for. I feel like they.
Yeah, I can tell because there's more than three. So
there was four. There was like four other Odinsons.
That's what I'm saying. There's more than three of them. So you even forgot one of them. So I can tell you didn't care about them that much.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they felt insignificant in the long run. Because at least the other two, the poetry god, took over the narration, and then the older dude, the older death guy, at least kind of knew where Tyr was or something like that. You know, and then the other 4, I guess, you know, I don't know, they just kind of were there. I guess this, like you said, continuation from Gods or whatever. I don't know. This one is feeling all over the place at this point. Glad we're going back to Utgard stuff next issue. Honestly, I don't know. I gave it a 7. I thought it was alright. I don't know. Meh.
I gave it a 10. I love the series.
They really do.
I loved the dueling narration. I loved like the foreboding that like Bueller was doing when he was saying like because I think Hermod said like, yeah, Laus is like really strong. If any of us is safe, it's her. And then Bueller goes like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
If any of you are safe, which none of you are. I like that whole I just was so great. I loved it. So yeah, 10 out of 10 all around. This series slaps. We're gonna do Ultimate Black Panther number 4 here. This is written by Brian Hill. The artist is Stefano Caselli. So at the end of the last issue, we were sitting here pondering the orb. Turns out, seems like that orb is just a power source. It really was not anything spectacular, it seems.
Was it a power source?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is, and that's mostly based off of the synopses for the upcoming issues, because it's on the cover of issue 7. And they're talking about access to a unique new resource. So I'm assuming that's just what it is. And so that does mean that the cliffhanger of last issue is even stranger than I thought it was initially, because that's just kind of a nothing reveal. It's been a couple months since Wakanda has seen T'Challa. He is still off doing stuff with Killmonger and Storm. Shuri and Okoye are kind of trying to keep the country running, but they're kind of losing faith themselves. So, in the middle of the night, an assassin comes for Okoye, and this assassin was former Dora Milaje, but now is working for Khonshu and Ra, and actually is in like a kind of Moon Knight costume as well.
Yeah.
So they kind of have a bit of a fight. Shuri comes in and helps, like, you know, get the assassin out of there. She ends up chasing the assassin into an alley, and then I think the assassin dies, right? Or no, did they manage to get her? T'Challa shows up. I know.
Yeah. So Shuri, like, I don't know if the assassin was about to get like the better of Shuri or something. I don't remember exactly, but I know T'Challa stepped in, like, basically like, defeated the assassin, and then the assassin like died because I'm assuming because of like Ra and Khonshu.
Right. So yeah, T'Challa's there, and he essentially doesn't talk to Okoye, and he's like, okay, come with me. I'll show you the only people you can trust. And he goes and he brings them to Shuri, Killmonger, and Storm. Yes. And that's pretty much it. So again, I do think this series, issue to issue, it's slow. And it feels it doesn't feel often like a lot of stuff is happening in this series when you are reading it month to month. However, I do find myself liking the series more as it goes on. I think this will read actually exceptionally well in trade once you have like the first 6 issues collected. But I think, you know, issue to issue, it can feel a little bit unsatisfying because of how little often happens. And this issue, I just kind of had more than a lot of the others. I mean, there's an actual like a legitimate action sequence. You know, T'Challa comes back to Wakanda. That's significant, I guess. But as far as the actual plot development goes, it is very slow in that regard. But I think the characters are written well. I think the art is always fantastic. I think, you know, a lot of the dialogue and character interactions feels really cool and natural. I do still, again, I've been saying this since this series has started. I do still kind of, I wish this was a little bit more distinct from 616. It's getting there, I think, a little bit, but it does still feel, this is definitely the most similar to 616. You could almost plop this story just in 616, and I don't think it would make too big a difference. There'd be a few things you'd have to change, but not many. Other than that, I don't have much to say on this one. Again, this series is like, in terms of talking points, there's not usually much because it is so kind of slow in its story progression. But I liked it. I do think like this series has been I've been thinking more favorably on it as it's gone on, and so I think this is again a good solid issue of the series, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it continues to move from here.
I do definitely think that like issue to issue, it's like slowly getting better. Because I would say like this one so far has been my favorite of this series. I don't know why exactly. I think it's just like everything that went down, just like the conversations between the characters, because I think like the characters are really, really well. With like Okoye being the queen, Shuri being like, I don't know, actually viable in a sense, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we've talked about that on this podcast specifically, but Christ almighty, I fucking hate Shuri.
in general.
Yeah, I know you hate Shuri. I don't think we've really brought that up much on the show.
Exactly. And I actually don't dislike this Shuri. I think she's actually very well written, and she actually has something going for her.
There was also a conversation between T'Challa and Okoye. It was basically Okoye like ripping into T'Challa for being gone for so long.
Yeah.
Like she's being like, "I'm your wife. Like you can't do that to me." He didn't really brush it off, but he was like, "You're right. I will tell you everything if you just come over here." And like these are the only people you can trust. So Killmonger and Storm are in Wakanda now. And I guess they're gonna be fighting the like mystic people that T'Challa went to. What was that, last issue, I think? Or 2 issues?
It would have been, I think that was the first issue.
Was it the first issue? Oh, geez.
Yeah, T'Challa's not been in Wakanda for a while, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I guess they might be fighting them next issue. Not too sure. But, yeah, I don't know why. I don't know. I couldn't explain to you, like, in depth why I really like this one. I just think this one was very good. I think it was mostly the character development in this one that I really enjoyed. Yeah, I really like this one. I gave it a 9.
I gave this one an 8.
Not too bad. Ultimate Universe still pretty good. Let's get the Energon Universe out the way.
Okay.
Which one doing first? Which one am I going to choose?
I mean, I think I know which one you're going to choose because you almost chose it earlier. So.
Damn it. All right. Yeah, you're right.
It's Cobra Commander number 5.
All right. Hell yeah. This is indeed Cobra Commander number 5, written by Joshua Williamson. The artist is Andrea Milana. This is the finale of the Cobra Commander series, where Cobra Commander basically just forms Cobra.
Yes.
So, right off the bat, we start with him kind of summoning Destro and being like, hey, what's up? I hear you're Destro and you're doing all this stuff with Mars. Like, come and meet me and let's say hello. So, Cobra Commander shows up. He kills all of Destro's people except for one of them whose name I don't remember. It's Mercer. There we go. Felix Stratton is his real name. So, essentially, Cobra Commander's like, hey, let's team up, Destro. I will like give you Energon and you give me weapons, essentially. And like I can like help you distribute all your weapons and stuff. So Destro is ultimately, at first he's pretty reluctant, but ultimately he's like, okay, fine, let's do it. And then that's kind of where that part of it wraps up. That's like where the Cobra Commander part of it wraps up. He does end up like forming like actual Cobra out of like dreadnoughts and people from Mars, I think, and like a whole bunch of a whole bunch of people. And then we also have back in Cobra Law, Globulus is like, man, this fucking sucks. Like Cobra Commander betrayed Cobra Law, and now Megatron got away as well. So like this whole thing, like we're gonna fucking take down Cobra Commander. And also they found video of the war on Cybertron, and so they send this one person, Pythona is her name, to go into space and start going after some Cybertron stuff. So
yeah,
that is, I think, most of what this issue is. I think it's pretty good. Probably not my favorite issue of the series. I still think the first issue of the series is probably my favorite, but
yeah,
I do think it was pretty good. I have enjoyed seeing the rise of Cobra Commander in the series, and I do think, like, to the series' credit, I think it's done a very good job of actually making Cobra Commander, like, a credible threat to this universe. Because, as I understand it, usually, like, in the show and everything, he's kind of known to be this, like, cowardly figure, which wouldn't really kind of work within the context of this universe. I think they've done a really good job of building him up to be a legitimately, like, you know, threatening and an intimidating presence within the series and within the universe. For me, I'm very interested to see where Python is going. Because I think the latest page of this issue mentions, like, we'll see her again pretty soon. And I know it seems like next issue of Transformers is, like, really going to be exploring a lot of Cybertron stuff. It is, yeah, I mean, the description for this is just the wars on Cybertron and Earth converge in ways the Autobots and Decepticons never expected. So I think we very well may see her there. That's probably the most likely place we're going to see her. We will see her. It does seem like a lot of stuff is kind of starting to converge in the Energon universe, though, because she's going out into space to maybe find the Cybertronians. I think it's also possible that she ends up accidentally going to the Void Rivals planet, though, as well, and getting involved in that conflict. So there's a lot of stuff going on in Void Rivals right now. We'll get that next, but I think there's a possibility that we're going to be seeing a lot of stuff cross over very soon, and it seems like Void Rivals might be kind of the central point of that, which is interesting because Void Rivals has kind of not been... Void Rivals have been, I think, the most disconnected for most of the run of this universe right now. But in terms of this issue, I think it was good. Again, not like mind-blowing, but I think as the conclusion to Cobra Commander's origin, I think it worked very well, and I think it does set him up to be a very consequential and significant and like cataclysmic player in this universe going forward.
Yeah. There's a bit of a time skip from I guess from like the G.I. Joe or from the Duke one to this Destro, right? Because we saw Destro in Duke in the last issue of Duke, and then we've seen him again this one from Cobra Commander. And I guess it's a bit of a time skip, right? Because I guess Cobra Commander has been stealing Destro's weapons for like some time now, which is has Destro like on edge or whatever, or upset. But yeah, so when he finally meets him and stuff like that, he is very weary of Cobra Commander, being like, we'll use him for now to like power up our stuff until later on. Yeah, that's pretty much you got everything else. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so Cobra Law, right? Their whole shtick, I guess, is that they're against like metal and machinery. And
they're all about organic stuff. Yeah.
But then, how the fuck did they get into space? What is that weird thing?
It looked like kind of like an Earth ship or something, like a dirt and flower and plant ship to me.
It looked like a brain to me, dog. But like, okay, so like they're scientists over in Cobra Law.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess. I don't know, man. It's like the world doesn't know about them, it seems. But then how did they make this giant ass shit?
Organic technology, Sebastian. It's all organic tech.
But how did they hide it?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think they really cared at this point. They just wanted to fuck over Cobra Commander now. So
in general, how did they hide themselves? They're just in Antarctica, but like under the ice.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, presumably there's not that many people going into Antarctica. Even in the real world.
I don't know, man. We got research stations everywhere.
We do, but there's comparatively a lot less people going to Antarctica than like every other place in the world. So
yeah, as an ending to Cobra Commander, I don't know. Felt rushed in a sense. I don't know. Everything kind of converged all at once. Like literally just last issue, he just found Energon, but like I said, time skip. So, but yeah, I don't know. It kind of felt rushed a little. I don't know. I think, for me, series as a whole, it was all right. I think the best one was the first one. That one was the best. Besides, the rest of them were just kind of mid and all right. For me, Duke was better, strictly speaking, from the G.I. Joe side, at least. And, yeah, I don't know. I gave it a 7.
I gave this one an 8. Okay, well, we may as well go over to Void Rivals now and discuss Void Rivals number 9. This one quite surprised me. I gotta say, I liked this one a lot. Void Rivals is by far the series that I have been the most mixed on. I think the series can be very good sometimes, but I think it can also be very not good sometimes. This, though, I would say is my favorite issue of the series so far. It's also my favorite Energon Universe book this month. It also probably has my favorite cover of any books this week. I love this cover of Springer on the. Yeah, it's really good. So this issue, it starts off with Solilla still being impaled on her spear. It starts off right from at the end of the last issue. She is still alive. It turns out that Proximus threw the spear so hard that it like fused with her armor to the point where it kind of staunched some of the bleeding. She is still bleeding out, but it's a slower process than it otherwise would have been, so she's able to kind of cling to life. So Darek kind of helps to transport her over to this like warehouse that he had previously been to on his first time getting swept into the wasteland of this area. He had found this place back then, and so he's able to navigate them back to it now as well. It seems like he probably met Springer the first time. He mentions like a shape-changing robot the last time he was there, so it was probably Springer, because Springer does say he's been hiding out here for a while. But yeah, anyway, they get there, and Springer's here, and he's like, "Hey, what's up? I'm a Transformer. You guys don't seem too freaked out by that." And so so they're kind of talking, and Dark is saying like, "Hey, we gotta help Solilla. She's gonna die like soon if we don't get her some help." And Sprinter's like, "Shit, man, sorry, I don't really know what to tell you. Like, I don't think there's much stuff here to help this sort of situation." And then Proximus shows up, and Proximus and Springer have a big fight, and it kind of fucking rules. It's pretty cool. To me, this is much more what I was hoping for from the fight between Proximus and Dark and Solilla last issue. I think this is a much stronger fight, and I think it does a good job of like making it believable that Proximus would be able to stand up to Springer. because the size difference is insane. Springer is like 7 times as tall as Proximus. But I never really questioned, like, the thought never crossed my mind that, like, oh man, Springer should be destroying Proximus right now. I think it was a very solidly staged fight in the way that it did feel like legitimately like Proximus is a real threat to Springer. So yeah, they have a big fight, and I don't remember exactly how the issue ends. I think it is some kind of cliffhanger. I don't remember what though, or maybe just ended with a fight. I'm not sure.
So as Springer and Proximus, is that right?
Yeah.
As they're fighting, Handroid or Dark has Handroid scan Solilla, and like basically her heartbeat's like declining really fast. And so like she's about to die, essentially. That was the cliffhanger, that she's about to die.
Yeah. I don't know. This was very nearly my pick of the week. Again, I think it probably would have been if Immortal Thor hadn't kind of come in clutch and scooped that up. But I think like the inclusion of Springer, even though I don't know who Springer is, this is the first time I've ever seen Springer in anything. So, I think I found it even more impressive that it managed to feel so consequential. This is by far the biggest crossover that we've had in this series, and maybe in the Energize universe at all. I think this is like this is the first one that feels very consequential in terms of like the inclusion here, as opposed to just kind of a small cameo. I guess the closest thing before this probably would have been Duke in Transformers number 2. Yeah. Even then, though, that was still a little bit. He got a bit of an action sequence, and we didn't even it didn't show that it was Duke until the very end of that part anyway. So it's kind of a little bit of a different situation. This feels legitimately consequential, and I like Springer in this. I think the way he's written is very fun, but I also enjoy that he's kind of at the start, like he's doing a bit of quipping with everybody, and he's kind of not taking it too seriously. And then like the second that he clocks that Proximus is like a real threat, he seriouses up pretty quick. He gets pretty serious, and I appreciated that. I think it was cool. And I think the fight was just really cool, and the art was good. And I ended up really actually loving this issue, which has not really happened with the series. I've liked issues quite a bit before. There've been like 2 others that I've really mostly pretty much enjoyed. But this is the first one where I was like, really, I don't have any issues with this. Even Darek was not too annoying to me in this issue. Yeah. There's a point where I kind of enjoyed where he's talking to Handroid, and then he's clearly just starts like losing his mind. He's like breaking down, like laughing uncontrollably, and Handroid's like, I think you're kind of losing it right now, Darek. And I kind of enjoyed that. I think that was a good little moment there. So I just thought it was really great all around. One of actually probably the best issues of the Energon universe for me, full stop so far. Just a really solid one all around.
This one was really good. This one was very good. Yeah, it's like you said, Dark was not annoying in this one, simply because I think he actually sees the imminent threat of Solilla actually dying.
Yeah.
Before with Hand, I feel like he hasn't really captured like the amount of like shit they're in, Yeah. So now that like there's actual like she's about to die, I think he's like actually taking it seriously for once. And then Springer as well as a character, I thought he's very well written, with like you said, him like kind of being comedic at first with Handroid and Dark, basically him being like not being able to tell like who's who, like because they're just so small, and like that he had no idea that like it was the Handroid talking at first and not Dark, and then Dark started talking, and he's like, oh, you guys are 2 separate things. And then I remember at one point when Proximus came over, he was like, wait, who's talking to me right now? Is it or like, are you alive, or is it the Hand that's talking to me right now? Like, I have no idea. And then so Solilla about to die as well. Don't really know how that's gonna work out. In the
she's
end,
definitely not gonna die. She's on the cover on like issue 12. So
I know she's not gonna die. I just don't know how they're gonna heal her, essentially, especially with Proximus there and like Springer.
Right.
Like he is fighting him, but it doesn't seem like he's getting the upper hand at all. Any means. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. I've for the most part have been enjoying Void Rivals, but I enjoyed this one. I gave it an 8.
So I gave this one a 9. I also want to mention we missed a couple things. So first off is a really great and also really sad scene with Sketchloid that I completely forgot about, where he goes home and he's like, hey, my family, hello. And then he kind of realizes, he's like, oh, wait, they're all dead. And he's like, it never does any easier. Like, I think that was a really good, like, little character moment for him. And it, like, actually made me feel, like, empathy for Sketchloid, who was a character who I haven't really cared about that much beforehand. The other thing, I remember what the actual cliffhanger is now. It's on Quintessa, because there's a couple Quintessons there, and one of them kind of brings forward some, like, he's like, one of them kind of comes up and is like, hey, we found this energy source, and it looks like it dates back to, like, Zerta Trion or something. It's not what it actually was, but it was something along those lines. And then one of the Quintessons zapped that one, and was like, that name has been forbidden for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's where the issue ends.
That's right.
So I don't really know what that's about. I don't know if that's like a Transformers reference that I don't understand, but wanted to mention that as well. So, but yeah, great, loved it. 9. I thought this was really fantastic, and almost my pick of the week.
We're going with Superman number 14.
This is Superman number 14, written by Joshua Williamson. The artist is Rafa Sandoval and also Miguel Mendonça. So this is so as it says on the cover, this is the main match between Lobo and Superman. Yeah, that's how it starts. It is a big brawl between Superman and Lobo at the start. Yep. And then Superman ends up losing because Chakal steps in when Lobo is maybe about to not get the upper hand anymore, and like gets him in these super like unbreakable chains, and then brings him to Brainiac's ship. On Brainiac's ship, we kind of get a bit more of answers as to what he's kind of been doing, because essentially he's using all the supers to power up and kind of create Queen Brainiac. Yes. The Brainiac Queen. So he does that with Superman there. I don't think it kills any of them. It doesn't really seem to.
I don't think it does either.
Yeah, but then once the Brainiac Queen is alive, the other Zarnians are like, all right, we did what you wanted. We're just gonna get on out of here now. Like, if you want to give us our reward, we can get on out of here. And then Brainiac has the Brainiac Queen massacre all of the Zarnians.
Yes.
Except Lobo is presumably still alive.
I assume so.
Yeah, so then at the end, Brainiac Queen is like, I need more power. And that's kind of all I remember. I know there was some stuff with like with Kara kind of flying about.
Supergirl and Lex,
yeah.
So it was Kara and Lex, on Kolu or whatever in Brainiac's ship. And basically Lex explains that when he revived Brainiac for Legion of Doom, he had to do so by going into his mind, and that's where he realized that like Brainiac has like holes in his memory, and he saw basically what Brainiac was gonna do to like fill that hole, and it essentially scared Lex, and he basically said like nobody should have that power, referring to the Brainiac Queen being like way too powerful and strong. And I think that was it. Oh no, Brainiac's son comes and saves them from the other Brainiacs.
Yeah.
Yes, and then that's where that part ended.
Yeah, I think I think this was very solid. I definitely think it was a bit of a step up from the Action Comics issue from last week. I think first of all, I mean, the art's great. That was the case in the last issue as well. But I think the fight between Superman and Lobo was fun and cool. It looked great. I think the developments with the Brainiac Queen were interesting. I really thought the scene where she just killed all the Zarnians was really cool and a great way to kind of set the stakes really high as we enter the third act of this event. And so just ultimately a very solid Brawl issue. It didn't quite have the all the good character stuff that the last Superman issue of this had, but ultimately I think it was a still very solid issue that teed up things very nicely for the final part of this event. And so I thought it was good. I gave it an 8.
Yes, no, this one was very good. I was kind of hoping to see a bit more of the Superman v Lobo fight. It makes sense why they cut it short, obviously, but I thought that would have been a really good battle to actually see go through with. Or I thought at least that Lobo was gonna pretend it was gonna be a pretend fight kind of thing, possibly to trick them or something. I don't know, but it turned out to be real. Anyway. I think the design on the Brainiac Queen is very interesting, honestly.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like something Brainiac would actually be I don't know. It seems like something Brainiac wouldn't necessarily design, because I know he's all about perfection and whatever and knowledge. So for the Brainiac Queen just doesn't seem to be his cup of tea, but whatever. I just think she looks really cool in general. Yeah. And I think isn't Brainiac Queen part of Absolute Power? I don't know.
She might be. Yeah, I don't know.
There's too many androids in that sense. They all
there's a
lot. Kind of blend a little bit. I don't know. That's just the fact that we haven't been introduced to all of them, I think.
I'm checking the Absolute Power description right now, but
I mean, I know for a fact Failsafe is, obviously, and then the other super Amazobots, right? Because I know there's gonna be one for each of them. I don't know.
Yep, we have the combined might of Failsafe, Brainiac Queen, and the Suicide Squad. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. So maybe Brainiac Queen portrays Brainiac himself.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, this one was very good. Loving the art still. I think this I think the core issues for this one are really good. We haven't had too many tie-ins from what I'm remembering.
Yeah, it's Green Lantern and Power Girl, and Green Lantern only has like backup stuff tying into it.
But yeah, so far I've been enjoying this House of Brainiac event. So yeah, pretty good. I gave this one an 8.
All right. Well, we do have to end with the Blood Hunt stuff, obviously.
Yeah,
so I'm going to go to Something is Killing the Children here. This is issue number 37, as always, written by James Tynion or Tynion the Fourth, and the artist is Werther Deladera. So this is continuing the arc of one-off little stories of Erica going and hunting a monster. And yeah, I mean, this one it's pretty simple. I think, first of all, just the actual plot here is Erica walks into like a store to get some stuff to kill a monster that she is hunting. And so it's kind of this little bottle episode where we have Erica, this girl that she's trying to protect from the monster, and then the 2 store workers who are there. And the 2 store workers cannot see the monster, but the monster goes in while Erica's in there. And Erica and the monster have kind of a big fight, and she ends up killing it, obviously. And then she's basically like, all right, just forget you guys ever saw this so that I don't have to kill you, and I'll just go on my way. I think what James Tynion does really well here is, and just in general, is he does a really good job of pretty immediately introducing new characters and then making you care about them pretty immediately through their dialogue and their characterization. I think the 2 department store workers are instantly pretty like likable, and I think their dialogue flows. They feel like real people in a way that I think makes them instantly more compelling than a lot of other side characters and a lot of other, and even some like main characters in other series. So I think that is good. There's a little bit of a thing where one of them seems to kind of know what's going on, like she's maybe experienced the monster before, because there's a point where they're kind of talking, and one of them is like, I think I kind of know I think I understand what's going on here, and I want to know more about this. And it seems like she even wants to actually like have Erica recruit her to the Order of St. George. Erica's obviously like, absolutely not. Like, you do not want this life. And so I will say the one thing I do kind of wish is at the start, it's kind of from the POV of the 2 workers. And so we can't see the monster either. There's a point though where when she's actually fighting it, we do see the fight. I do kind of wish that we kind of kept that POV the whole time and only saw it from the perspective of the workers and not so we didn't actually see the monster at all. I think it would have been kind of cool. Because, I mean, I know we've had, like, points where that's kind of happened, but not for, like, an entire issue or an entire monster hunt. So I think that kind of would have been a cool little gimmick to bring into this for this one-off. But I think as it is, it was a very solid story. I think because of the constraints of this sort of one-off nature within this overarching story, I do think it's a little bit hard to really make something that really, really knocks it out of the park, because of just, you have to kind of fit a lot into this one issue to tell a complete story. But I think this was, again, very solid. I think, as with the last issue, it's just very good. Not like necessarily mind-blowing, but again, it is just kind of good to have this series back and have Erica back, in a series that is going on. So I think it's just a very, very solid entry.
I really enjoyed this one. Like you said, with the characters, the new characters, it actually, it felt like I like instantly got to like them.
Yeah.
To the point where I was afraid when like the monster first came in that like actually like one of them was actually gonna die.
I'm shocked that one of them didn't. Yeah.
Honestly, yes. Especially when the last character, I think his name was Aldi or something like that.
Yeah.
Like when they came in at the very end and they like actually got grabbed by the monster.
Yeah.
Like I thought for sure they were dead too, but no, they didn't. They just got like flung across the room, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, oh man, I think this one's been so good simply because it's like, it's kind of, in a sense, like it's kind of like old Erica, like.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten like the new Erica where she's been in it for so long that like she's just like she's always hated like St. George or whatever.
Yeah.
But like at this point
going rogue now, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this one is like, it's like fresh again, like it's like old Erica, and so I think that's why it's been so good. And I think these one-off stories have also been really good at like kind of telling the complete story as well. Because we kind of get like the general gist of how this works now. Monster kills children. She goes after the child that like basically summons it, uses them to lure the monster, and then kills the monster. So like you don't really need to constantly get that repeated back at you.
Right. Yeah.
So for us to see it from like the perspective of like other characters, I think is a really good idea.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why it's just been like super fresh, and just really, really good so far. So yeah, I still really like this series, and yeah, I gave it a 9.
I gave this one an 8. Okay, well, that would lead us into the Blood Hunt blog. It's a pretty small Blood Hunt blog this week. It's just 2 issues, but
Yes.
we're going to start out with Union Jack the Ripper Blood Hunt. This does, according to the list, this does come before the core Blood Hunt issue, so we're going to start with this one. It is written by Cavan Scott, and the artist is Kev Walker. So this one is, it was interesting because for the core event, they're doing like a standard edition and a red band edition. This one, they're just like, fuck it, let's just have insane gore on there anyway and just put it right in this issue. It does make me kind of wish that they had just committed to making the core Blood Hunt series like just a straight, like the only version being the red band edition.
Red band, yeah.
I get why Marvel doesn't want to do that because they have a lot of audiences, who are potentially not old enough to read the red band edition. And since it is a big core event for Marvel, it's their big summer event, I get why they'd want to have everybody be able to read it. This one, it's essentially there's a group of people in England. They're trying to survive the vampire apocalypse. One of them dies very gruesomely early on, and then Union Jack shows up, and he's taking out a bunch of them. And then he's about to die. He gets some help from one of the other people that's there. And then they go back to Union Jack's hideout, and they're kind of exploring. They're kind of trying to patch Union Jack up. They have a bit of a car chase as well, I guess, which is also a thing. Yeah. And so they're trying to patch Union Jack up, and then ultimately they find out that there's like a vampire that's just like in a bloodbath, like a literal bathtub full of blood. Yes. In somewhere in the facility. It like pops out of there and tries to attack some of the characters. They go to kill it, but Jack is like, no, don't kill it. And we don't really know why. It's some other character. It's named Bulldog.
Yeah, I think he's part of their team. Oh my god, I'm forgetting that team name. The Union.
The Union. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, so he's another I guess British superhero, and he's kind of taunting them. He's like, either kill me or let me go, Jack. You can't have it both ways, and that's kind of where the issue ends. I think this is okay. I think this is fine. I don't think it was amazing. I think like some of the art was cool enough. They definitely did not hold back on the art department.
No.
There's a lot of blood in this. Story-wise, I don't know. It was fine. Again, to like show the effects of Blood Hunt in different places in the world. Like, sure, this does that. It's totally serviceable. I get that that's kind of what a lot of these tie-ins are there to do. But I just didn't think this one was particularly interesting. I don't think it worked as well as like the Avengers or the Doctor Strange or the Spider-Man one from a couple weeks ago. I think those are much better representations of that. So ultimately, fine, I think, but just kind of not amazing, not memorable. I wish this had been a one-shot, but they're doing 3 of these, so I just we're going to come back to these in a couple of weeks. But just kind of whatever for me, ultimately.
No, I 100% agree. It's very whatever. It honestly, to me, it felt like it focused more on the police officer in this story than at the actual Union Jack or whatever.
It definitely did, yeah.
Like, I don't know, a lot more character development in that sense. Yeah, this one was, it was really all right. UK British flag man over here killing vampires.
He's Union Jack the Ripper, yeah,
thinks he can do it by himself, realizes he can't, almost dies, and lo and behold, some random police officer saves his life. It's fine. I don't understand why, like you said, I wish this was a one-shot. I don't know why we're getting 3 issues of this. It's just dumb. Like, it literally could just have easily just been a one-shot. But anyway, we're here for 3 more runs, so we'll be back at it later on. It's fine. This is fine. It's a 7.
I gave it a 6.
Yeah.
That would leave us with just 1 issue left, which is Blood Hunt #2, written by Jed MacKay, and the artist is Pepe Larraz. So for this one, we both managed to find the red band edition last week, or last issue. Neither of us were able to. But yeah, we've got the red band edition this time, and I gotta say, from what I understand, the first issue had more differences between the red band and the standard, because this one I doesn't seem like it had that many. I didn't look at the normal edition. Sebastian did. What was, because you told me there was one before. We were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. You said there was one early on that you would tell me when we recorded. So what was the first one that was in there?
So so I read the red band one. I skimmed through the other one just to see where the differences were, right? And so the first difference that I noticed was when Brielle gets introduced. We're shown her and Dracula in Atlanta, I believe. That one. So in the red band, right? When we first see her, you see the 2 children and their mom dead on the ground being eaten by vampires,
right? In the regular one, the mom is alive with the children, and Brielle saves all 3 of the family.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So that was one difference.
Yep. There's a panel. This was the only point when I was reading just through the Red Band one that I was positive was not in the standard edition. That's when Tydra and Huntress Moon and Miles, they all end up at the Sanctum Sanctorum, and they walk in, and Doctor Strange's body is floating. His astral form is out, but his physical form is just like floating. Clea's still got it bound, and just Doctor Strange's guts are just everywhere. So that was the other one I noticed. How did just for comparison, there's a couple of points, like right at the start, for instance, we see that T'Challa is a vampire, and then at the end, we also see Miles get turned into a vampire.
Yeah.
Were those different? Because I thought those maybe could have been a little bit more gruesome in the Red Band, but I don't know if they actually were than the standard.
Those were the exact same.
Okay. It's that same. Yeah. Okay. So as we mentioned, T'Challa gets turned into a vampire right at the start. Then we also, so we see like Brielle and Dracula kind of saving some civilians from some of the vampires. I am a little bit curious now because it seemed based on the end of the Bloodhunt Dracula issue that it was going to lead straight into Daredevil joining up with them.
Yes.
But now, like, they're just in the Sanctum Sanctorum, Brielle and Dracula, so I don't really know. Again, the structure of this event's a little bit weird. It's kind of jumping all over the place. But so, yeah. They go. Doctor Strange is not doing too well, and then the Blood Coven show up, and there's a big fight between the Blood Coven and the Avengers. The Avengers are able to kind of pierce the Dark Force cloud that's surrounding the Earth, so that kind of ends up giving the upper hand. And they're also like more organized now because they know the Blood Coven is there. They know what they're up against. Even though they're like half their members down, they kind of really quickly take over and take down the Blood Coven, which I do think I wasn't thrilled about that because I do think like, especially if the Blood Coven are going to be very like consistent throughout this run, throughout this event, I do think now it kind of just completely negates all of their intimidation and threat factor because the Avengers took them down super easily in the second issue and again down like half their members. I mean, these guys are holding Thor and Scarlet Witch hostage right now.
Yep.
Like 2 of the strongest characters on the Avengers by far. And so just to see the other team just come in and take out all of them. Granted, like they don't like take them down permanently. The Blood Coven retreats and they said like we'll be back and next time it'll be like the final match. But still, it does kind of then mean, well, like, okay, I know they weren't expecting it last time and they've had more time to prep, but it's also like, how did they beat them so easily now and they completely lost them earlier? And then how is there going to be any like suspense in terms of their next fight with them? So that wasn't, I don't think, like necessarily amazing. But then anyway, They go back to the Sanctum and Brielle's there and she's like, hey, Miles, good to see you. You're like the only person here I know. And then Miles turns into a vampire and that's where the issue ends. So despite my Blood Coven complaint, I did still really like this. I actually think, like, even though it doesn't seem like there were as many changes between this and the Red Band edition, between the Red Band and Standard edition for this issue, I do still think actually just reading the Red Band edition did kind of add to the atmosphere a little bit.
Yes.
It did feel more dark. It felt like a more like intense threat. It really did like feel more like a kind of a bigger deal than it did kind of in the first issue. Not to say that it didn't feel like a big deal in the first issue, because it did, but I do feel it felt kind of more consequential, and the atmosphere I think was a little bit better here. So I did really like that. And just generally, I do like how this is kind of evolving. I think it would be, because this is only 5 issues, I hope that next issue starts to do some stuff with the Blade stuff. It does mention briefly here that Blade is like a vessel.
Yeah.
So presumably he is possessed, and it's not just him like going fucking crazy and joining the vampires like of his own accord. But I do hope that we get kind of a little bit more of that, because this issue did kind of feel like it was stalling just a little bit to kind of put some players in key positions and everything.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, because this event is not that long, in terms of, like, at least, you know, the core series, I think it does kind of need to make sure it's keeping the momentum going so that it doesn't just have to throw a shit ton of stuff in the last issue and just kind of rush the ending. So I did like it. Hopefully, again, I do hope it kind of starts picking up next issue. I think if it does, this could still end up being a very strong, you know, core series at least. I think, you know, despite the fact that this did seem like it was kind of just holding off a little bit, I do still think it was a very solid issue. And I think the core series of this event is in a pretty good place right now overall.
No, yes, I very much
I really enjoyed this one as well. I think the core issue of this event has been really good so far. Having read both of them, I will say I did enjoy the Red Band one more, just for like the atmosphere. I think it was, I think it just tonally, it just fits better, the Red Band edition. Like the one scene specifically will be like, I will say it was the one Brielle first came in and the mom having been literally just dead on the ground, and the kid, her children literally watching her like be eaten. I feel it fits better with the whole theme that this event is trying to like portray. And then the other added scene that I did not mention was when Avengers versus the Blood Coven, when Captain Marvel was fighting Bloodstorm 1, which is like the silver-ish looking vampire from the Blood Coven. She like punched him through a wall or whatever. And in the Red Band edition, he gets an extra page where he was like with his mask off, and he basically told Captain Marvel something. I don't remember exactly what he said, but in the regular edition, that was not there at all. Which
that's
also
a really weird thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. But in the end, it added more to it. Like it honestly helped it flow better, because in the regular one, like you see her like punch him through the wall, and then the next time you see him, he's getting like blasted. It's just like all of a sudden he like teleports. Like just like it flows a lot better in the Red Band edition, in my opinion. And so overall, I'm glad I actually was able to get the Red Band edition, honestly. Because I genuinely enjoyed it more than just the regular.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The Red Band edition's been doing well. There were not many copies of it left when I was at my shop. So yeah.
So I hope going forward I can get the rest of the Red Band, honestly. Yeah. But yes, I really enjoyed this issue. I thought it was very good. I'm loving the art. I'm loving the gore, honestly. I don't understand why they're doing, like, I kind of understand why they're doing the Red Band. Like you said, I feel like in the end, it could possibly bring them more money as well. I mean, it is technically $1 more, I guess.
It is, yeah.
But like at the same time, like if they're just doing it purely based off like the goriness and stuff, I have to say they released Marvel Zombies before, and that shit is
it is. I think the difference here, though, is that this is like Marvel Zombies is it's an offshoot, it's an Elseworlds kind of thing. It's not like Core 616. Whereas this is, and it's like the big summer event for the for the line, and they want to make sure everybody can read it. I do think, though, like keeping like putting extra like plot stuff in the Red Band edition, that's weird, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. That's a weird like choice, and seems kind of gatekeepy, and so that's bizarre. I don't know why you'd put like extra like. I get it's probably not a huge moment, but still, it's like, I don't know why you'd put in a story beat that like provides more kind of context only in one version of the comic, and it's the version that's like harder to find. So that's a weird choice. I'm not sure I love, but I do like the series as a whole generally, and I like the idea of of having some extra being able to put more like gore and stuff that feels more thematically like it fits in the series in the Red Band edition. But like, don't put story stuff in the Red Band edition like extra. That's bizarre to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, give it an 8.
Yeah, I'd give it an 8 too.
And that would wrap it up for this episode of Earth's Mightiest Comics. As always, thank you everybody for watching or listening on whatever platform you may be on. Next week is definitely a much lighter week. It's a 5th week of the month in terms of the stuff we'll be talking about. Obviously, we'll be recording on the 1st week of the month, but 5th week of the month in terms of the comics we'll be talking about. Next week we have stuff like the finale of Avengers Twilight number 6. That series is great. Really excited to see how they kind of wrap it up. I hear it's a fantastic conclusion. We also have The Flash number 9. I liked the annual quite a bit, despite not knowing what the fuck was going on. But I do like the series more or less now. I'm at least interested by it. It's a weird and difficult reading experience, but I think it is ultimately quite interesting. We also have Green Arrow number 12. Next issue of Green Arrow. We have the Six Fingers, the next issue of that, the second to last issue of that. We also have the next issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, which is, this one's kind of dealing with the origin of Green Goblin in this universe. So that's interesting. We also have the next issue of Universal Monsters, Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives. Again, I think that title's too long, but it's a good series. The first issue was good. Then we also have the World Tree, the next issue of World Tree number 10. And then we've also got some more Blood Hunt stuff with Black Panther Blood Hunt and Midnight Suns Blood Hunt. And then we also have the Power Girl, that's Power Girl tie-in to Action Comics House of Brainiac event. Okay, well, as always, thank you everybody for watching or listening, again, on whatever platform you may be on. If you are on YouTube, you can, of course, like the video if you enjoyed it. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more episodes of this podcast. You can also hit the bell notification so that you do not miss any new videos that we put up over there. And you can leave us a comment letting us know what some of your favorite comics are, what you think about generally comics and, you know, as a whole currently right now. And then you can also go and get in contact with us at our email address. That is earthsmightiestcomicspod@gmail.com. That is all one word there. And you can also let us know what you think about comics over there as well. And if you're on Spotify, you can, of course, also follow the show over on Spotify as well so that you don't miss any episodes over there. So once again, thank you everybody for watching. As always, that'll do it for now, and we will see you in the next episode.